We'll see if I get nervous and don't end up shooting anything in public. So I put a poll on my Instagram and you guys all picked 10 things I hate about you. Hey bestie! Welcome back to Making Eating Easier. Each and every week I meal prep a cold foam, a breakfast, lunch, and a silly little treat to make my entire week easier. But in order to be able to do that, I have to plan, shop, and then ultimately cook the food. So this is a series where I break all of that down for you. Let's get into it. Well, I always start out by planning my meals first so then I can make my grocery list. I've been doing way too much the last few weeks, and so we're gonna keep it simple this week. I use a couple of different places to come up with ideas or inspirations of things to meal prep and also dinners for the week. I mainly use Pinterest, and then obviously I am chronically online, and so when I see recipes on Instagram or TikTok that look amazing, I add them to a save folder. I've also saved my old grocery lists, and sometimes I go back to those to come up with ideas. I totally want to do some kind of bark for this week's silly little treat. When choosing this week's meals, I'm really trying to be intentional about time, thinking of things that I can throw together and maybe not necessarily cook. Still trying to stay away from eggs, so breakfast choices have been tough. Now that I have all of my meals planned, I'm going to go through and write my grocery list. Planning my meals and then making my grocery list from there really helps me stay on budget. No midweek grocery trips, and we buy only exactly what we need. Now it's time to plan my week and my content and then check in with my goals. Planning is done. My husband will go grocery shopping tomorrow, and then we'll meal prep. So we actually have to run an errand at Home Depot, so I'm gonna go with my husband grocery shopping, and I'm gonna take you with me, I think. We'll see if I get nervous and don't end up shooting anything in public. From shopping, and now I have to get this kitchen organized and then go into meal prepping. I say I'm gonna do a nice easy meal prep, and then she proceeds to run every single errand that she's been putting off. If you're new here, I always start by adding my grocery list to this little whiteboard in my kitchen. Then I write down everything I'm gonna meal prep into a little list. I'm a list girly and my brain loves this. I put a poll on my Instagram and you guys all picked 10 things I hate about you. And so we're gonna see if we can meal prep everything for this week while we watch that movie, no extra time. But first, I don't do anything without a silly little treat. Bubble cup, wavy cup. Starting this week's meal prep off with some prep. We aren't doing a lot of cooking today, so it's going to be a lot of chopping, a lot of putting things together. Starting off with these sliced strawberries that are going to make a base for our matcha strawberry bark. This has to go into the freezer, so we're starting with it first. I should have sliced the strawberries the other way, but I had a little bit of fun getting these all put together to make the base. Used a little bit of paper towel to dry them off and then put them in the freezer. While that's setting, I'm going to do a little bit of chopping. I'm using onion for the pico de gallo, but every time I chop an onion, I just chop the whole thing and then save the rest for the rest of the week. Chopping some cilantro, that's also going to go into the pico. Getting that set aside while I start ripping this rotisserie chicken apart. I love rotisserie chickens. It's the easiest way to make a meal really quickly. If there are no rotisserie chicken fans, I am dead. Getting that shredded up with some salt, pepper, chili powder, cumin, garlic powder, and then putting in a little mild green salsa, some cilantro, and a little lime goes in there as well. Getting that all mixed up and put aside. This is going to be the protein for tacos for lunch, and literally one of the easiest things I've ever meal prepped. My strawberries are going to come out of the freezer so I can add the second layer. You could totally use yogurt or peanut butter for this. I obviously went with peanut butter. And I'm not spreading this in slow motion, okay? I have to be very careful because I was impatient and the strawberries aren't quite stuck together yet.
No drinking, no drugs, no kissing, no tattoos, no piercings, no ritual animal slaughters of any kind.
Bringing out my $8 thrifted food processor that I definitely didn't make up an elaborate backstory for. Throwing the cherry tomatoes in there and then pulsing them before adding my cilantro, lime, garlic powder, chili powder, cumin. Did I say cilantro? And again, I'm using the pulse function because I don't want to completely annihilate this. It looks perfect, and in a matter of minutes, it's all done. Ooh, I think I also put chipotle powder in there. Getting that cross off the board and then moving into breakfast. As you saw, I found these cereal bars on Pinterest when I was planning. And with the confidence of a white man who has a podcast, I just kind of threw ingredients together. Didn't read the recipe at all. Peanut butter, maple syrup, a whole lot of Cheerios, kind of mashed that together and then pressed it down into a baking sheet with a little bit of parchment. And then put that in the fridge to kind of set and stick together. My once organized fridge is becoming a war zone now. Meal prep will do that to your fridge. And while the Cheerios set, I'm going to start making the matcha white chocolate. This is going on the strawberry PB bark. I melt the white chocolate chips with coconut oil and then add the matcha in after. And it turns out to be the most absolute beautiful color I've ever seen. Pouring the matcha white chocolate onto the bark in a very cool and sexy way. Then she goes back in the freezer for her final set. We are getting close to the end of the movie now, so we're going to do some cold foam. I've been going back and creating some of my favorite cold foam flavors so that I can add them to mellow. This one was tiramisu. This flavor is definitely in my top 5. It's heavy cream, mascarpone, coffee or espresso, and just a little bit of cocoa powder. Blend it all together until thick. Pulled my matcha bark out and tried to chop it into really cute little squares. I failed miserably, but you guys know I'm on a time crunch here, okay? Wrapping things up by mixing some yogurt with some melted coconut oil. Poured this on top of our breakfast bars. Then I'm going to smash some dehydrated berries on top. And she is gorgeous. I smashed that entire list just in time for me to do the cringiest shit I've ever seen here. All done with my meal prep, movies wrapped, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Bye!